Welcome to a video about Pokemon Showdown and how I reached top 100. In fact, you can see on your screen right now how I reached rank 80 with a team that only has a single legendary on it. In National Dex, anything goes. So in a format where you can bring as many legendaries as you want from any generation, Arceus, Zacian, Primal Groudon, Kyogre, any amount of legendaries you want, and you can even bring more than one of the same. You can bring 2 Arceus, you can bring multiple legendaries, anything you want. Anything goes, that's what it's called, AG. I only brought one legendary, and that was Kyogre, and it wasn't even primal. So how did I do it? Anyway, here's on the screen, you can tell I am right now rank 80. I went on an insane win streak today with this awesome team, and I'm going to show you exactly how I did it. So let's go over to the team builder real quick. This is the team we started with. So this is the original team that got me a top 500. My friend and I both together have, we got, I think, cumulatively 7 or 8 accounts into top 500, and I think 2 into top 200, and I think we have 1 in top 100 right now. So we've been working on these teams for a couple weeks now, and this is the one we started with. So let's just go through this. We have Rillaboom, and at first we had a set with Life Orb. It was okay. Rillaboom's really good in this format for a couple of reasons, and we'll get into that why it's so good later. But the set is Fake Out, Grassy Glide, Wood Hammer, and Swords Dance. So this thing is an offensive threat. Normally you see Rillabooms running Grassy Glide and Fake Out in VGC, and sometimes Wood Hammer because it's a really strong grass move. In fact, in Grassy Terrain it's 150 base power, and that's before stab is applied, so it's really strong. You can one-shot a Xerneas with it from full health if you're max attack investment, which we are. So here's the stat pool. We have max HP, max attack, and 4 in defense. Adamant Nature. We later swapped Fake Out for U-Turn, and the reason this is really important is because you run into a lot of flying types like Yveltal, and let's say you swap in your Rillaboom on something super effective against. They're almost always swapping to their flying type, and giving it U-Turn allows you to get the upper hand. So if they swap to like a flying type, you can U-Turn into Regieleki, which we'll get into a little bit later. Ditto. Ditto is, a staple for top 500 gameplay. It's a staple for almost everything in anything goes formats, because you're going to run into legendaries that are going to set up on you. For instance, Zacian just gets that +1 boost anyway, and with the Choice Scarf you get to outspeed the Zacian, and you get another attack boost. So you get an instant +2 Zacian. Or you could copy a Xerneas that has just used Geomancy and finish it off with Moonblast and then sweep the rest of their team. Or you could copy a Dragon Dance Dragonite or a Dragon Dance Mega Rayquaza. It works really well. It's a great finisher. If you keep it alive until the very end and then sweep the rest of their team with something that they can't resist, it's almost always a free win. We'll show you a replay later where this happens. Cloyster. This was the one Pokemon that we took off the team for something else, which I'll show you later. This is the one slot on the team that has gotten consistently moved around. But it's Focus Sash with Icicle Spear, Rock Blast, Ice Shard, and Shell Smash with Skill Link, obviously. Pretty normal set. It has Adamant Nature, reason being that when you Shell Smash with this max speed, but Adamant Nature, you can actually outspeed basically everything in the format, except for like Regieleki, which you're never going to outspeed anyway, even with +2 speed, so it doesn't matter. And with this, if you have a Shell Smash, with its attack stack, if you have a Shell Smash, and you Icicle Spear a Zacian twice, it will kill it. So I know that sounds really conditional, but some people like to switch in their Zacian on a Shell Smash. So let's say they have something that's weak to ice, like a dragon type, for instance. They swap it in their Zacian. I hit Shell Smash. I Icicle Spear it once, it uses Behemoth Blade, brings me down to Sash, and then I can kill it with another Icicle Spear. And most Zacians don't run Quick Attack, so I don't need to worry about it using Quick Attack on my 1 HP Cloyster. Most of the time, it works really well. The only thing that it struggles with is Stealth Rocks, because it takes a quarter of its HP. So this is the original Regieleki set. Now, the whole purpose of this Eleki, with the Electrium Z, was to one-shot basically anything in the format that doesn't resist it. and Electrium Z plus Thunderbolt is base 175 Gmax, or not Gmax, Gigavolt Havoc, which is its Z move. Volt Switch is obviously a great move to have to reposition. E-Speed is good for a couple things. One is E-Speed goes before Sucker Punch, so if someone sends an Yveltal or something else with Sucker Punch, like Kangaskhan for instance, or even a Cinderace, you can just use E-Speed and it will outspeed them. And then you can play mind games with them and they can't Sucker Punch you, because Sucker Punch normally can one-shot a Lecky. Hyper Beam is just a good non-electric move because you can normally get walled by ground types. We did actually switch Hyper Beam for Rapid Spin, and it works really, really well at countering a lot of leads, and you'll see that in one of the videos today. So Lecky is actually one of the probably strongest members of this team for dealing damage. Super good lead. It only really gets countered by Arceus Ground and Groudon, and that's why we put Rhyperior on the team. It's a really great counter to some of the other ground types in the format, and I'll show you later why it's so good. Kyogre, this is the only legendary on this team. I guess you could count Ditto as a legendary, but that's kind of conditional what your opponent has. Kyogre has Choice Scarf, and it is exactly EV'd. This is the best EV spread for Kyogre. This is the one you will always want to use when you're doing something in competitive formats. Reason being, at this speed stat, it exactly outspeeds Calyrex Shadow Rider by 1 speed, which is the second fastest thing in the entire format, next to Lecky and Formosa, but no one uses Formosa. As far as I know, it outspeeds everything in the format that is actually like something you'd ever want to outspeed. Like, I'd never put a Kyogre against a Lecky. It would make no sense. And you can never outspeed it even if you have max speed investment. What this does is it allows you to have extra HP investment, and this gives you an extra 13 HP, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it can really help in a pinch. And there's no reason you don't need more speed than this. Obviously you want max special attack, and this thing's an absolute beast. If you can get it to sweep your opponent's team, that's ideal. A big part of this team is setting up one or two members of your team to sweep everything else. So you'll notice that the typings really cover for each other well. So you really don't have any impossible matchups. What you want to do is get either their ground type out of the way. Usually this team really, really struggles against Groudon, but once the Groudon's gone, you can almost always sweep the rest of their team with either a Lecky or a Rhyperior or a Kyogre. And Kyogre also struggles, especially because it's Choice Scarfed, against Primal Groudon. You're seeing a theme. We're really weak to Primal Groudon, and we built this team to deal with meta Pokemon. So how do we do that? Well, Rhyperior. This thing is one of the most clutch members of the team. With an insane HP stat and defense stat, it can live 2+1 Earthquakes when it's Dynamaxed from a Mega Rayquaza. That's how strong it is. It tanks basically everything for at least 2 hits before it dies. And why is this good? We have weakness policy. This thing is the best revenge killer that I've ever seen. So this thing is made to beat Primal Groudon. People always just click Precipice Blades on it, click Earthquake on it, or they click Earthquake on something else, like Dragonite, for instance, was something I ran into today, and it only did 30% of my HP. Why is this so good? Because you can take out all the threats that this team is weak to with Rhyperior. Main ones being Yveltal can one-shot a Lecky with Sucker Punch. Primal Groudon walls a Lecky. It walls Kyogre. It walls Rillaboom too, if it has any fire moves. Cloyster can't do anything to it. So what do? We Dynamax it and we click Max Quake. It works 90% of the time because they see a kill. And another thing about this Pokemon that makes it so good is that it can survive, because of its bulk, it can survive a Behemoth Blade from Zacian if it's at full health. In fact, it does around 90% of its health. So it can tank a Zacian Behemoth Blade after taking Stealth Rock's damage, which is amazingly good. Also, it can tank a lot of special moves if you set up Sand with Max Rockfall or Max Quake and get your special boost. So it can become really bulky and really difficult to get off the field. Okay, so that's the team. I'm going to show you the couple more iterations. Another thing we did was we kept basically everything the same with these, and we added Golduck. Now, what makes Golduck so good? Cloud 9 is its ability. This thing was used specifically for a little while just to beat Primal Groudon, since Groudon annihilates the rest of this team, especially if you lose Rhyperior early on, which is something that can happen quite frequently. Air Balloon makes it so you can swap in on a ground type move. So let's say you have a Lecky out and you try to Volt Switch, they swap to their Primal Groudon, so Volt Switch doesn't get you swapped out. I can swap right into Golduck, manually swap to it, and their Precipice Blades will miss, and Cloud9 makes it so that their Harsh Sun goes away, and so then you can just Scald one-shot their Groudon. We also give it Hidden Power Grass to deal with Quagsire, and Toxic to deal with Walls. Ice Beam is a really good coverage move. The only thing is, if they don't have a Groudon or anything slow, this thing gets one-shot by basically anything, like, you know, Mega Rayquaza, Zacian, like you name it, it probably dies. Its stats aren't great. I mean, its defenses are like, eh. I mean, everything else with base, you know, 160 attack is going to one-shot it. So it was good for a little while, but we chose to take it off the team. Then I got sick of losing to random stuff, and I put Arceus on the team for a couple games. I never actually used it. It never actually did anything because all the people who I was playing against either forfeited before I could use it or got swept by something else on the team. So I never actually used it, but I really like this set. It walls Primal Groudon like really well. Like a Primal Groudon can't do any damage to this thing. Precipice Blades does 20% of your HP when you're not even Dynamax, and you can Toxic, Calm Mind, Recover. You can set up on it. And if they have a flying type, you Toxic it. If they have a steel type, you can Judgment. It's a really great set. I love it. But if you don't want to use any more legendaries, if you're sick of using Arceus and seeing Arceus everywhere, I recommend this last team. And this is like the final variant. My friend and I iterated on it, and this is kind of like the final one we came up with. And it's good for a couple reasons. So it keeps the Ditto, it keeps the Kyogre, and he named it after me, the Mysicle. And we changed the Rillaboom set. So this says Grassy Glide and Woodhammer, same as before. It has U-Turn, as I mentioned, and has Leech Seed. So we took the Life Orb off it and gave it Leftovers. The reason for this is Rillaboom is frequently killing itself with all the recoil it was taking from Woodhammer and Life Orb. It was just kind of a lot, and it frequently got walled by flying types anyway. So we needed something to start breaking stall teams. This team really struggles against stall. So we put Leech Seed on it. Leech Seed plus Leftovers plus Grassy Terrain recovers you about like 24% of your HP every turn, depending on how much Leech Seed takes. But these two give you 12% total between the two of them, and then Leech Seed is just extra HP. And so you can get away with recovering half your health like every 2 turns if the opponent has a lot of HP on their Pokemon. So it's super great, and you can also just U-turn. There's so much utility in Rillaboom, and it's also a great finisher with Grassy Glide against Calyrex Shadow Rider, which Calyrex Shadow Rider Scarved annihilates this team, like really badly, because Ditto is Scarved, and so it's just banking on a speed tie, and you don't really want to rely on winning a speed tie if you wanted to get to a high rank, because you need consistent wins. That's kind of the theme of this, is just consistency. So yeah, we gave this thing Rapid Spin. Reason we gave it Rapid Spin is specifically for all the Stealth Rock setters, which can really whittle away at your Pokemon's HP, especially Kyogre, which you want to have at full HP for Water Spout. Rapid Spin is also really good against Deoxys, because Deoxys speed actually outspeeds this by 5 speed stat, and that's because we're not max speed investment, because you really don't need to be timid. Modest plus Gigavolt. Havoc will one-shot most things in the form, but you need to have Modest nature. So so Deoxys will always use like Taunt or Stealth Rocks turn 1. So what you do is, well, because it's always going to be sashed almost every single time, you Rapid Spin, because he Stealth Rocks you, and then you Rapid Spin it off. And then the Rapid Spin gives you a speed boost, so you're faster than it and can kill it with Thunderbolt or Gigavolt if it's a really bulky set. So it annihilates and completely invalidates Deoxys speed form for setup, and it just really helps give it another option against teams that will set up on you, like with a Shuckle, for instance, that will Sticky Web and Stealth Rock and Toxic Spikes. It gives you a way out of that. Rhyperior Fire Punch is really important for things like Kartana and for Ferrothorn, which have been kind of problems for this team. Other than that, Rhyperior is basically the same as we started it. Iron Head is good against Diancie. Can easily one-shot it. We don't use Iron Head very much, but it's good for getting the defense boost, because if you get the defense boost with Zacian, can only do around 75% HP to you from one Behemoth Blade, and your survivability is just really good. It's a good option. We don't often use it, but it's helpful to have. And lastly, we have the Mega Gengar, and this is what my buddy put on the team. We have a couple different variants of it, but this is my favorite one. This is the only like gimmicky stall Pokemon on the team, and it has no attacking moves, so you really don't want to get taunted with it. Normally, there's not a ton of taunt users, so it's fine. But we had a lot of trouble with stall teams. So the reason this is so good is it has Shadow Tag and it has Perish Song. So if you can keep it alive for 3 turns against a stronger Pokemon that is just spamming Toxic or Will-O-Wisp on you, you send in Jimmy, and you encore whatever like stupid move they were using, or you disable it if they're using an attacking move, and then you just Perish Song. And I believe that you have exactly enough turns to live whatever they're doing if you throw in a Protect in there. So typically, like for instance, this also beats Primal Groudon. You click Protect on Precipice Blades, you disable it, Encore, Perish Song, and then you waste 1 turn using another move, Encore or Disable, because you'll have another turn where they are literally just clicking Struggle, and then they'll break out of both of those on the last turn. So then you Protect, and then the last turn of Perish Song you swap, and you can kill whatever it is, as long as you can tank whatever move they're using on your switch in, which is usually Rillaboom, because it takes a Precipice Blades really well. So this is another thing that breaks stall. It breaks Groudon if you're not swapping into a Precipice Blades, and if they have any kind of setup mons in the very beginning, like anything annoying. I mean, even Shuckle, for instance, works really well, or what else? We had something today that it beat really well. Yeah, Grimmsnarl. You can encore them into using one of their screens, and then Perish Song, disable. Just get rid of it before it can do anything. And plus, Perish Song also makes you stall out a couple turns of the light screens. You can actually, even if they have Light Clay, you can cut half of their turns of Light Clay off, which is super good. So this is the final team, and I'll get into a couple of replays. So let's look at, this is the first match that I wanted to showcase. I have 3, yeah. This is the match that got me into top 500, or top 100, sorry, actually to rank 80, which I just showed you in the beginning of this video. This was a really clean sweep, and this was showcasing just how good this team is. Alright, so my recording got messed up because it had some really loud gameplay sounds on, so I'm going to redo this now. This is how the team works. So this match was against someone who was ranked 1800, so that's like top ladder. That's like top, I think, 50-ish, top 50-ish. So this person really knows what they're doing. It's a very unique team, and you're going to see how it gets absolutely dissected by our team. So let's go ahead and see what the start is. Notice that Aleki does not get walled by anything on this team. So I just start clicking Thunderbolt. I figure I hold my Gigavolt in case I need it for later. So he swaps to his Thundurus to drop my speed so he can go back to Charizard to one-shot my Aleki, which is really smart. However, I can just swap to Gengar because I don't need Gengar for this match. There's nothing really to wall out with it. All the rest of his team is just kind of weak to everything I have. They don't resist it, so I sack Gengar, and I just Water Spout his Charizard. Excuse me. Pretty easy start to the game. Take the Wildfire. Mimikyu is going to Trick Room here, I think, so I just Water Spout. I need to break the Disguise, just get some damage going on it. And he does end up Trick Rooming, and I'm like, okay, just click Water Spout again. He curses. I don't know what that's for. Maybe he has some big brain idea that I don't understand, but I ended up getting rid of it. Kyogre is about to die. So I swapped to Rillaboom. The reason why Rillaboom is so good that I didn't mention before is that it blocks Spore from Smeargle. So this thing walls Smeargle really easily. And the ability to just Grassy Glide it or Wood Hammer it is amazing. Wood Hammer, as you can see, takes out one of his bulkier Pokemon like down to 6 HP. So super good. And Grassy Glide, terrain, the Trick Room doesn't even matter. Grassy Terrain gives us priority, so we Grassy Glide him. And I mentioned earlier that Calyrex is a big threat to this team if it's Scarfed. And you'll see that Grassy Glide takes out a little more than half of its HP, so you get a 2-shot, and Calyrex cannot one-shot you unless it's at +1. So we can just double Grassy Glide, and you see that he forfeits. So really good start already. This was, I think, the third to last game I did, and he didn't even use Smeargle. He knew he couldn't do anything to my Rillaboom. So he beat a rank 1800 person, which is super awesome. So this next one was the second to last game that I played before I got rank 80, and let's just show you what happens, I guess. So this guy was ranked the second to last battle before I got rank 80, so top 100, and this one will just kind of speak for itself, the power of Alecki. So let's go ahead and play this. So he goes Shuckle, I just Lightning Bolt on it, gets paralyzed, doesn't really matter, Sticky Web, swaps out, and so this, I'm thinking to myself, okay, I know what this guy's up to. He's got Kangaskhan. This thing's probably going to Fake Out or Sucker Punch me. So Fake Out's not going to kill me. It's going to do a very, very large chunk of my HP, but it should be fine. So Fake Out, he gets double Fake Out on there, Parental Bond, and I E-Speed here because it will outspeed a Sucker Punch, and I was mentioning this earlier. So now a Sucker Punch fails, and you can't do anything about it. Do anything about my E-Speed, so I finish off his Kangaskhan. And Shuckle, I know it can't really hurt me, so I'm just going to Thunderbolt it down. I don't need to waste my Gigavolt Havoc on it. Get rid of all the stupid, junk he puts on my side of the field with Rapid Spin. And then he sends out Hatterene, and this is a one-shot Gigavolt. Notice I haven't swapped out Alecki, at all this entire time. It's been dealing with most of his team just fine. And I'm like, okay, I can sack this thing, whatever, it doesn't matter. I basically already won the battle at this point. I crit his E-Speed, it really doesn't matter. And then I realized I can 6-0 him, so I just go Rhyperior, Walls Alecki, and people will always swap in their flying types, and I don't know why. Because this Alecki will die to anything. 50% health Alecki can die if you blow on it the wrong way. So I just Rockfall. This is gonna obviously one-shot the villain, and at this point, there's really not much this guy can do, but props for him just staying in and trying his best. And this is when I realized this thing can't even beat me. Even if it had Waterfall, it wouldn't be able to one shot. I can't flinch, so I'm just gonna Rockfall this. This is really showcasing how strong Rhyperior is. Only takes 30% of its health from Earthquake. He Earthquakes me, but because I'm Dynamaxed, I live it, and then Max Quake finishes it off, and that's the game. So that's a 6-0, and granted, he was in the 1500s, so he wasn't that high, but this did give me just outside of top 100. So the very next battle was the one that got me there, and this got me almost to top 100. And so I'll show you the very last battle that I did to get into top 100. And so this person was rated 1858. So this person was I think top 50 or something. They were rated really, really high, way above me. And at first glance, I was like, okay, he has Smeargle, which is super good because I can deal with that with Rillaboom. He's got a Groudon, which is annoying, but I can deal with it. I have a couple threats for it. Xerneas I'm not worried about, Zacian I'm not worried about. Ditto is really good against his team, and so is the Mega Rayquaza. These last three get dumpstered by Mega Rayquaza when I Ditto it. So let's see what happens. Oops, actually let's turn the sound off. Sorry about that. So we get let me restart this and narrate. Okay, here we go. So I start with Gengar. This probably wasn't the smartest idea, but I was assuming he was going to lead Groudon because a lot of people lead their Groudon because of Stealth Rocks or something. So kind of not a great lead for me, and I expected a Spore here. This guy didn't Spore, which is a really big surprise. So already I'm like, okay, this guy actually knows what he's doing. And he gets the Moody. He gets all these boosts. He Spiky Shields me, which is a little interesting. I mean, it does some damage, but I recover it all back anyway. So not a really big deal. He's a really low defense stat, so I will just do this. He Baton Passes to Rayquaza, and I'm like, okay. So normally I'd be panicking if I didn't have Ditto, but I still do. And I actually thought for a very long time on this turn. I spent a lot of my game time on this. if I remember correctly. And I'm like, okay, do I really need Rillaboom for anything else here? Yeah, kind of. I mean, I want it for the Smeargle, but a Smeargle is 1 HP and I can probably kill it with something else. So it doesn't really matter. I can sack Rillaboom here. So I'm going to Grassy Glide, because he has -1 defense. It takes a decent chunk of his HP off. The idea here is to get him down to a range where I can click E-Speed with my Ditto, because if I'm swapping my Ditto in here, I don't have his HP stat. I have Ditto's really shitty HP stat, which is, I think, like 300 when it's at level 100. So it's not great. And I'm at -2 defense because he's -2 defense. So if he E-Speeds me and I Dragon Ascent, I will die one shot. However, if I E-Speed him at this rate, I will probably one-shot him. So he has to swap here, which is fine. He sacks his Smeargle so he can get a free swap to his Zacian. Now I realize this. I need Ditto alive. I need Ditto to win this, so I have to swap my Ditto out. I go to Gengar. Gengar's almost useless in this game, so I just end up sacking it. I was hoping he might be a slow Zacian, and if that's the case, I want to protect, so he Behemoth Blades me, and then I can disable the Behemoth Blade and Encore him into it. So, I mean, it didn't end up working, but it was fine. I was going to sack it anyway. So here, I took a really big risk. I stayed in with the Lucky. A lot of people don't swap their Zacian out against the Lucky because they think they can survive Thunderbolt. They think they can live basically whatever I have. This guy actually swaps to Groudon, so I Gigavolt Havoc into a Ground type, so I lose my Z move. Now it's fine. I actually thought about this. Is it okay if this happens? Yes, I mean, I can deal with everything else on this team. I don't really need to use Gigavolt. I have a way of dealing with Zacian in the other three things on my team, so it's really okay. I just try to get some chip damage on it. Now I could have done a couple things here. I could have gone into Ditto, but if I did that, he could swap to Rayquaza because I'd be choice locked into a ground move. So I choose to go Rhyperior, and this is where Rhyperior really shines. He goes Earthquake. I get my boost. As you can see, it only does 32% of my HP, and that's from a Primal Groudon. Like, that is one of the main like physical ground type threats. That's super effective. It's stab, and it's from a Primal Groudon. Like, this thing's not a joke. Only 32% of my HP when I'm Dynamaxed. And so obviously I just Quake it, I get the boost. Now he makes a really interesting choice. He goes to Espeon, and he yawns, which I get. Espeon really doesn't do anything against my team, so he just kind of wastes it. Luckily I get the Rockfall. And he does have a really, really good plan here, I will admit. Like, he plays very, very smart. So he goes Zacian, and he's just gonna Behemoth Blade. Or actually, no, he doesn't Behemoth Blade. He swaps to Rayquaza. This was such a smart play. Like, he thought this had 3 turns in a row, three turns before. So he swaps to Rayquaza. He baits my Quake, and so I miss. It doesn't do anything, and then I fall asleep, and now he can Dragon Dance on me. This is a great plan by him. However, I still have Ditto alive, so it's not a safe plan. As you can see, even after a +1 Earthquake from a Mega Rayquaza, it only does 59% of my HP, and I'm not even Dynamaxed. So it's a possibility I wake up there and get the Rock Wrecker, but I stay asleep, which is fine. I don't need it to win. And so now I go Ditto because I have Kyogre. The only thing Kyogre can do against this thing is Ice Beam, and now it's faster than me because it's +1. So I'm forced to go to Ditto. And so a couple things are going through my head here. I have to Dragon Ascent. If I E-Speed and he swaps to Zacian, I instantly lose this game. Actually, would I? I actually probably wouldn't, but I was thinking in my head, like, if I have to Dragon Ascent this thing, because I have to I need to choice lock myself into a strong move. If he swaps to Zacian, I was actually very afraid I was going to lose the battle. And thinking back, I actually may not have. But we copy a Spaghetti Monster, and we Dragon Ascent it back. He didn't E-Speed. I was pretty sure he couldn't kill me with E-Speed, so yeah, he was going Dragon Ascent, and so I could get a free kill on that. Now here's the thing that I realized. I instantly win if I copy Zacian, because Behemoth Blade one-shots Zacian if it's +2, and it one-shots Xerneas. So this game is basically over at this point. I go to Kyogre, he goes Play Rough, he crits it. It doesn't really matter because I just need Ditto to win this. So Ditto copies his Zacian, and you see it gets +2 attack, 1 from the copy and 1 from the ability. And now he sends out Xerneas. I'm Choice Scarfed. There's no way he's faster than me. and Behemoth Blade will annihilate Xerneas. So he max guards, just stalls at one more turn, and there you have it. Behemoth Blade finishes him off, and this is a perfect showcase on why this team is, in my opinion, probably one of the best, if not the best teams for this format. Anything goes, and you can see this was the match that got me to rank 80. I got to 1780 here, and here we are, 1780, and I said game, and thank you for top 100. Yeah, that was probably one of the best battles I've had in a long time. Really exciting, went back and forth the whole time, and eventually we had a really clutch sweep. So with that, here's a quick look at the team. Once again, this is the final team. We didn't really get to show off Leech Seed on that battle, in any of those battles, but it has been useful for breaking some bulkier Pokemon. And yeah, that's the team. I really like this edition of Mega Gengar. None of those matches I really got to showcase it, but it is excellent at breaking stall. This team really struggles against Quagsire if you can't get Rillaboom in against it, but if you can, get in, disable its Earthquake, and then Perish Song it, free kill. So yeah, thank you for watching, and I hope you will subscribe to the channel for more tips on how to get better at Pokemon Showdown. I will be coming out with more videos later on, battles against top-ranked players. So if you want to see some really high-level gameplay, the best of the best, just subscribe and stay tuned for more.